We do get that here with this little Star Wars belt clip that attaches to the little circular disc right here on the side of the lightsaber. It's very simple. What you do is you take your lightsaber clip, attach it to your belt, and it has this little metal edge here. You take your lightsaber with its circular piece, you attach it down onto your belt. And there you have it. Unless you have a long t-shirt, you're a Jedi carrying around your lightsaber. Now to release it, just pulling on it's not going to do it unless you're going to pull it all the way off your belt. It's got a little release button. Press it, lift, lightsaber comes out. So if you are carrying it around as a prop or as part of a costume, you're going to find that it's not going to fall off your belt. And that is a nice thing to do, given the fact that you don't want your nice lightsaber to be dinged up. I mean, they're really sturdy, but it is a nice shiny metal. If you're walking around, say, downtown Atlanta during Dragon Con, you don't want it to fall off, hit the concrete, and get all dinged up. It's nice, then, that your little belt clip has that release button on top of it. Now, the other major type of Star Wars lightsaber prop-style collectible that was out there, if you weren't going to buy the ones that were just the hilt, or buy the ones that were the miniaturized hilt on the little stand, was the ones, or were the ones, that had the blades attached to them. These nice, sturdy, kind of heavier plastic blades that go straight into the end of the lightsaber. So you got your little emitter style attachment there going straight down into the lightsaber. The prop would essentially have been the same as what you would have gotten had you been looking at one of those hilt-only collectibles, only in this case you had a built-in blade. These were great, except for the fact that you don't want to try to hook this to your belt because the blade would be scraping along the ground. Essentially, you had to carry it around if you were going to use this as part of a costume or as something where you were walking around at a convention, just carrying it as something to say, hey, look, check it out, I got my own lightsaber. You really had to pick and choose for a long time. Which of these two did you want? Hilt only or the one with the blade? And if you chose hilt only, you then had to decide again. Do I want a full-size one that was more expensive, or am I cool with just those smaller ones about yay big that could be put on a bookshelf alongside, say, my Star Wars books, comics, or toys? Fortunately, thanks to this new line of collectibles from Hasbro, we don't have to choose. As long as we check out the ones that say, with removable lightsaber blade, down there at the bottom, we can do it as a hilt, or we can do it as the lightsaber with the blade in it. Because it is, as it says, a removable blade. Let's take a look at the features of one of these, specifically the Anakin Skywalker Force FX removable lightsaber blade collectible from Hasbro. Remember, back in the day, this was the type of Star Wars toy you could expect from Hasbro when it came to lightsabers. They didn't have the license at the time, I don't think, to do realistic collectibles. That was with Master Replicas. So if you wanted to play with a lightsaber, it was zoom. You did see it extending because you took your little telescopic end and pushed it outward. So again, as I collapse it onto the floor, small, big. Just flip it out. Sound effects controlled by a big red button. Hit it on something, and it makes the sound, but that was about it. These, kind of nice. I mean, at the time, if it was the only thing that you had, go for it. But then again, that's like saying, what is it that Dennis Miller says, why do Eskimos eat blubber? Because it's the only thing at the Arctic buffet? Well, kind of the same type of deal here. It was the only thing going unless you wanted to spend a whole lot of money. Hundreds upon hundreds of dollars. In this case, nowadays, for $75 through Amazon or about $130 through just about anywhere else with the manufacturer's suggested retail price, we get this one. This should be recognizable as Anakin Skywalker's lightsaber, as seen in Revenge of the Sith, as seen in A New Hope, wielded by Luke, and as seen in The Empire Strikes Back, also wielded by Luke. We'll go into why I chose this particular one later, for those of you who are interested. First, let's look at the product itself. What you have here is a very sturdy lightsaber replica. Looks very much like the prop. It is as close to 1-to-1 as I've seen with one that actually has a blade attached to it here. Now you do have some labels that wind up on here. An FCC regulation label here. You could take it off, but it might leave some sticky residue. There was at one time a label here, and there was a little stripe type label going down the back somewhere on the hilt here that said, here's where you go and get the batteries out. So there are going to be some little stickers on here you're going to want to remove when you first get it. I'll be removing this one sometime when I have a chance to do it without leaving any residue behind. I want to make sure that it looks pristine when I do. But then you have the attachment here that goes off into this nice, relatively sturdy lightsaber blade. Now, I'm going to step back here. You're not going to be able to hear me as well, but I want you to be able to see this. When I activate the lightsaber, again, the previous ones were telescoping. You went shunk, and the blade came out. In this case, you would expect you would simply turn on the lightsaber, and this part would just light up. On, off. 1 or 0. Very binary. It's lit or it's not. However, these are designed in such a way that it looks like the lightsaber is actually extending or retracting when you hear the sound effect. The control, by the way, is a little switch down here on the side of the hilt, where you would expect an activator button to be. Now watch this. I'm going to activate the lightsaber. Keep an eye out for the way it lights up. It's not going to light up all at once. Notice that? Little chunks light up as it goes. Shutting it down. Pretty sweet, isn't it? It lights up, but the way that it lights up is done in such a way that, especially in dark places, it looks like a lightsaber is actually extending. Pretty sweet. It also, of course, as you can tell, has sound effects. Let's turn it on again. Realistic sound effects coming from this speaker. Notice I cover it. So this is your speaker down here, just like on those early toy ones. Sound effects as it moves. Trying to do it with the speaker pointing towards you here. Now again, it is sensitive to hits. Banging on my hard head, right? Now, I will say one thing about this, and that is regular hits don't do much. This is not something that's meant to be treated like it's, expensive china or something. Tapping it normally does nothing. You really need to give it a nice little thwack to get it to make the sound. The idea is that there are plugs. There's plugs down in here, and it has to do with the way the plugs are tilted and jerked, so to speak, by the motion of hitting the blade. So this is going to be something where you want to be careful with it because you don't want to break it. I wouldn't go slamming it at full force against a brick wall or anything. On the other hand, it is meant in such a way that you could hit it against another of these, and that would give enough force to cause the lightsaber sound to come from both. You can smack on it, you can tap it on something, it's going to make the sound, but it's not something where just a little light feather tap is going to get you the sound that you want. I would also say that the sounds are better than they were on this thing. But then again, that's sort of like being valedictorian of summer school. Yeah, it doesn't take a lot to be a better sound effect than this coming from that crappy little speaker there on the end. Again, let's go for the lightsaber ignition. Versus much, much better. However, I will say that some of the lightsaber turning sounds and the lightsaber clashing sounds, they sound, I know this is going to sound stupid, but they sound recorded. They sound like you're listening to a sound clip as opposed to hearing something that's much more realistic sounding. The ignition and retraction sounds very realistic. They sound very clear. The other ones feel a little bit muffled, so to speak. Still, much better sound effects. They are based, of course, around shock against motion, sensing and such. Eat your heart out, Wii. And What you wind up here, what you wind up with here, excuse me, is a really nice prop that you can carry around. And have there in case you want to do a fan film, take it to a convention, or just run around the neighborhood looking like a lunatic as I look out my large windows here and wonder what the neighbors must be thinking.